Welcome, my algebra students, to lesson 1.6. What we are going to be doing today is actually something that we already kind of did at the beginning of this year to kind of help us set up. So most of this video is actually going to be very interactive, and so I'm going to ask that you are following along and solving the problems, and we're going to continue using that Ed puzzle here, so it's probably where you've already logged into. And so what we're doing is your objective is I can use the order of operations to simplify expressions. So we loosely went over your order of operations, went through the rules, but we didn't really get into very, as I would say, almost challenging problems. So we're going to take a look at some more challenges here as we move forward. And you'll get an opportunity to answer these questions as we go through. So we are going to review your order of operation rules, and then there is 4 examples on solving problems with your order of operations, and again, you're going to follow along with me to solve these. I challenge you to try your best. Whoever gets this first and gets it all correct, I will give out some sort of, or like award, or the whole class will know about it. So stay tuned on that. Haven't decided. If you got suggestions, let me know. Okay. Alrighty, so let's go ahead. I have to say though, reviewing your order of operation rules, this is how the book goes through it. I like some of this, but I also do not like how they go through these steps. So remember, with your order of operation, that is your PEMDAS. So your parentheses, your exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. And here, what I do like about this is that they give different steps. And so you can think, okay, if you like to think linear like this, step number 1 is perform operations inside of grouping symbols. So that can be parentheses, okay? Sometimes we're going to see brackets. Those are also grouping measurements. Your second, simplify your powers and your roots. That's your exponents here, okay? Maybe you have a square root of 6. That's not a perfect square though, sorry. Your third step, do your multiplication and division. They're together because we always think of them together, and we go left to right, like we're reading a book. And then your fourth step, addition to subtraction, again, left to right. So it is kind of nice because they simplify it a little bit and go step by step on the things you need to be doing. So we're going to be following our order of operations as we go through these problems. Alrighty, so these first few, I already just wrote them out. It's so hard to type up math, guys. Sometimes you just have to write it out. So the example 1 is simplify numerical expressions. So simplify each of the following expressions. So I'm going to help walk you through this first one, but I'm not necessarily going to solve it, okay? I want to challenge you to answer these with this Ed puzzle here. And so in a little bit, the video will pause to give you that opportunity to add in your answers, okay? But I'm going to help you set up for part A. Remember your PEMDAS. So in this case, there is no parentheses, so you don't have to worry about that one. Okay. In this one, there is an exponent, so solve out your exponent first. Then think about your multiplication or division. So you've got division and then multiplication, because again, you go left to right. And then you can do that addition part. All right? That's just step by step. I didn't just show the work. Part B, this is where we get those brackets. So if you haven't seen them already, you're going to have to do the operations within the brackets first. But then within your brackets, you also have to think of PEMDAS. So then you have to go into your parentheses. And there's even an exponent. So your first thing to do is to get these parentheses. So solve out what's in the parentheses, then square it, solve out the rest of the bracket. Okay? So go ahead and solve these problems. When you get back, I will have the solutions for you. Thank you for taking the moment to answer out these problems and to try your best. And I want to go through your answers or your solutions now so that we can continue on. So A, as I said, your first step is your parentheses. So that's all I did, or sorry, not parentheses. Your first step is parentheses. There were no parentheses. So your first part to do is then that exponent, which I did there, and just continued writing it up. From there, then I did my division. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. Still have that multiplication of 2. Next step is multiplying the 8 and the 2 is 16. So then I have negative 16 plus 16. Well, they are their additive inverses, and so I get an answer of 0. Maybe I'll box that in. Here we go. All right, your next one, then you want to do what is in the actual parentheses first within the brackets. So I did 5 minus 2, which is 3. Then I got to do the square, so 3 squared is 9. Do the rest of my bracket, 25 minus 9 is 16. And my last step is to multiply it by 4, which I get an answer of 64. So hopefully you got those correct. If you didn't, totally fine. It takes a lot of practice to continue working on the order of operations. But if you got them all right, give yourself a little pat on the back or a little clap. Congratulate yourself. Okay. Thank you for participating with me today. We're not doing an assignment for this lesson. I know I will put that with this. So this is going to be considered your video as well as your assignment for this time. Because usually I'm not going to put a ton of questions on these ed puzzles. So it's going to be worth a little bit more points. It's going to be worth 10 to watch this video and to fill out these questions. Okay? Since usually your videos are 5 points and the assignments are 5. Alrighty. So this time, example 2, we need to evaluate algebraic expressions. So evaluate each expression for the given value of x. Basically, we're using our substitution and we are going to plug in the value for x. And we are going to then use our order of operations and solve it out. So all I'm going to do is plug in x is 7. So if I wanted to remind myself, so we're just going to rewrite it, 21 minus 7 plus 2 times 5, okay? Want you to be able to use your order of operations, solve it out on your piece of paper. Yes, I want you to solve these ones too with me. So that's as far as I'm going to go for right now. This next one again, so you have this 5 squared on the outside. And then it's being multiplied. So remember, it's just next to it, so it's being multiplied by 30 minus x, and 30 minus 24. All right? So I want you to solve these ones out. When you get back, I will have a solution and we can talk through it. Okay, try your best and see if you get them right. Okay, coming on back. Hopefully your brain did a good nice workout there. So solving out this one, the first thing to do is your multiplication, and then you just go left to right. So 21 minus 7 plus 10. That gives me an answer of 24. B here, so I substituted in your 24x. What I did is I did the parentheses as well as the exponents in the same step. So I just knew that 5 squared is 25, and then I did the 30 minus 24, which is 6, and then I'm just left with 25 times 6, which is 150. Okay? Give yourself a little clap if you got them, you know, maybe a little, yeah, I'm awesome. It's okay if you didn't. Continue practicing. It's a skill to build up. Maybe notice where you made a little mistake. Happens all the time in math. I make mistakes all the time. Just because I wasn't reading carefully usually is the problem. I'm rushing through it. All right. Let's go to example 3 again. You're going to help me with these ones. So example 3, simplify expressions with other grouping symbols. Oh, so now we're talking about using your grouping symbols, which were parentheses. We also talked about brackets. But in theory, you can have absolute value bars that group things. You can have fractions that group things. Those are also ways to group things, okay? So simplifying your expression in these, you're still going to think about your PEMDAS. All right. But think about these different groupings as kind of your parentheses. So in this case, I'd solve the top and the bottom and then figure out what this division is. In B, I would solve out the part that's in the absolute value first and then do the stuff on the outside. All right, here's your challenge number 3. This is the last challenge of this video. I think you can do it. Do you believe in yourself? I hope you do. I'll give you some time here, so go ahead and solve these out. I'll be back with you in just a minute. Ready, coming on back. So what I did in this top one first is I solved out the bottom here. So 5 minus 3 is 2. 22 minus then 2 squared, which I decided was 4, and then I continued finishing up top. Negative 22 minus 4 gives me a negative 26 because it continues into the negative direction. Then I have negative 2 divided by 2, negative 26. Man, I can't speak today. Negative 26 divided by 2, which gives you a negative 13. Okay, and B here. So my final solution was 3. How I got there was I'm using my absolute value bars. And I needed to figure out my exponent first. So I take 5 squared, 25. 10 minus 25. I have to figure out what is 10 minus 25. 10 minus 25 is negative 15 in my absolute value bars. Notice that my divide by 5 still stays the same on the side here, because I'm still waiting to figure out the absolute value. So I take the absolute value of negative 15. Remember, your absolute values are always going to end up being the positive version. So 15 divided by 5, which gives you an answer of 3. Awesome. Please continue on though, because I will ask you one problem here at the end. Okay. So example 4 asks to translate from words to math. So we'd already kind of talked about taking, math to words, words to math. It's a skill that's kind of hard, and that's why we want to continue practicing it. So it says translate each word phrase into a numerical or algebraic expression. So I'm actually going to give you example B here, and I'm going to ask that you do A, okay? So let's go through this one first as your example, and then I'm going to have you do A on your own and have a question here. So the square root of the quotient of negative 12 and n. Well, first off, I've got negative 12, I've got n, and they're saying quotient. Quotient means my division. So that's showing me that I have negative 12 divided by n. I usually end up writing it in a fraction form. It just seems to be a little easier for me to visualize it that way. And then it's the square root. So I'm taking the square root of the quotient of negative 12 and n. All right. I want you to try and see if you can write out this one. 1/2 times the difference of negative 5 and 3. Okay, so write it in that text box next door, or next, or probably over to the right. I'll come back and check in with you here in just a minute. Okay, so coming on back, here's what your answer should look for A. So 1/2 times then the difference is subtraction, and your difference is between negative 5 and 3. Okay, and 1/2 times that. Maybe you have the half times in the middle here. It's going to be important that you have the parentheses though, because otherwise it wouldn't get distributed to all of what is inside the parentheses. So it wouldn't be multiplied by negative 7, the difference of negative 7 and 3. All right. Thank you so much for your participation in this one. You guys rocked it, as always. So this is your assignment, was watching the video and doing these problems. I'm not going to give you another assignment for today, so if you're done, you're done. Way to go. I will check you in the next video. Always reach out to me if you got questions, but see you guys later.